Om Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadguru Padapadme Tayosritva Pranamami Muhurmu. Namaste Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suri Satchit Sukhasvarupaya Swamini Tapahaya. So last time we saw that Ratma discusses about two ways of approaching the ultimate, the path of knowledge or the path of devotion or bhakti. So, in the path of knowledge, they have to constantly negate everything as niti, niti, not this, and reach the ultimate. Why this was considered a little more popular, or why people were resorting to this? Because the human life itself is subject to a lot of uncertainties, and ultimately everyone has to die at the end of it. So the idea that world is impermanent comes very naturally in the path of ज्ञान. ज्ञान मार्ग में जो चलना चाहते हैं, ये जगत अनित्य है, वो सहज में समझ जाते हैं. Whereas in the case of devotion, it is difficult. Because whereas their Gopala, their Krishna, their Thakur, their Durga, their Shiva, everything is real. They cannot say it is unreal. वो unreal बता दे तो उपासना कैसे करेंगे? If they think their Gopala is unreal, they cannot do anything. So for them it is real. So this is the problem. In the case of Gyan Margis, the idea that world is unreal, and because they don't have to depend on anything else, they have to simply keep on negating. Not this, not this, not this, because there's nothing like objective reality for the Brahman or the ultimate. Because anything that is objective is within the realm of the senses. It is from within this world. But we are talking about an idea which is beyond this world. So obviously, it cannot be signified, notified, or identified as like this. So it always say that no, not this, not this, not this. Ye nahi hai, ye nahi hai, neti, neti, neti. So they go on like that. So that is why, in the Upanishad, the path of knowledge is fully developed before every aspect of the path of devotion reached its completion. So the followers of the path of knowledge, they quickly become, kind of introspective. Because in the world, everything is nothing, not this, not this. So they think that it is better to inquire about oneself rather than inquiring about the world outside. World outside तो एक शब्द में पूरा खत्म हो ही जाएगा. It is done and dusted, finished with. The world is unreal. World is not Brahman. It's completely known in one. See, they don't have to say, no, the mic is not real, chair is not real, table is not real, or food is not Brahman, clothes are no. So all the objective world can be in one swipe completely got rid of. So they thought that what is really holding us, what is really binding us, what really is a problem. Through introspection, they understand this body and mind, they are the biggest obstacles. In the realization of the truth, the biggest problem is our own body and our own mind. The body does not cooperate, the mind does not agree, it goes in 1,000 directions, the body makes 1,000 demands. So, what they thought, it's better to be introspective and examine their own bodies and minds and see where it leads. They also know the body is not Brahman, the mind is not Brahman, maybe theoretically. But how to understand it, how to inquire about it. So, therefore, be quicker to discover the cause of the world if they proceeded through body and mind. शरीर मन के बारे में सोचते सोचते ये जगत के कारण भी पता हो जाएगा. And then, just as if you can press one grain to find out whether the food is cooked properly, if one can find Brahman within oneself, then it's possible to find Brahman everywhere, in all animate, inanimate, everything. One can find Brahman once. That's why Jiva Brahma even apara. The Brahman, the Jiva is nothing but Brahman. Once you understand that, everything is understood. Sarvam Kalidam Brahman. So then, the path, those who follow the path of devotion or the path of knowledge, all have to really, in essence, give up the conception that the world is real. Even those who follow the path of bhakti also have to understand. Yes, they may place all their reliance on their God or the Ishta Devata, that much is okay. But the other things, unless they understand a little about the unreality of the world, no one can progress in spiritual life. आपका आध्यात्मिक जीवन में आगे बढ़ाने के लिए कम से कम कुछ भी ए जगत के अनित्यता के बारे में सोचना पड़ेगा. जगत का मैं संपूर्ण रूप से मिथ्या भी नहीं बोल रहा हूं. आई एम नॉट सेइंग इट्स टोटली illusory, but that it is in the sense that it is anitya, not permanent. This at least we should understand. Then only we can slowly try to get rid of our attachments or problems. See, then we are all bound by 1,000 things. A rishtedar hai, a ladka hai, a ladki hai, a pati pati, so many kinds of my dress, job, vehicle, itna, so much we are attached to 1,000 things. But all this will perish. No? श्रीलंका में जब वो सुनामी हुआ था, millionaires and slum dwellers were standing in the same queue before the Ramakrishna mission for Kichudi. Previous day they were millionaires. Next day same as slum dwellers. दोनों, इनका भी सब चला गया, उसका भी चला, इनका कोई जाने के नहीं था, फिर भी चला गया, उसका सब था, सब खत्म हो गया. So the world can be so unreal. कोरोना के समय कितना हम लोग सुना. पिछले दिन मेरे साथ रात फोन किया, सुबह बोले नहीं मरा, चले गए. ऐसा so many bills just in front of them. So the world can be so unreal. So unless whether you are a bhakta or a jnani, unless you think about the unreal nature of the world, anityata, मैं मिथ्या ज्ञान में संपूर्ण रूप से नहीं बताता, बहुत बड़ी बात है. It will take a long time to get that idea, but at least to understand that the world is unreal, तब आप पढ़ पाए. ठीक, ज्ञानी के बारे में क्या है? एवरीथिंग इज अनरियल, 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 ओनली नेति 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 टिल दे गो टू ब्रह्म. देखिए सब भक्ता, मेरा कन्हैया छोड़ के बाकी सब अनरियल, मेरे दुर्गा छोड़ के बाकी सब अनरियल, मेरे शिव छोड़ के बाकी. सो यू कैन जस्ट माई सेल्फ एंड माई इष्ट देवता, ये छोड़ के बाकी सब. देन व्हाट हैपेंस? सी व्हाट इज द आइडिया? Once you develop this kind of ability to do this vichara, then only you can intensify your search. मैं जे ढूंढना चाहता हूँ, कैसे संभव है? If the mind is distracted to 1,000 things, it will always be disturbed, going in one direction or other. But but if you remove all that, नहीं वो कुछ नहीं है, जरूरत नहीं है, not permanent, not needed. Then you will find that your options are very few. Then you always think of Brahman. What is that highest? What is it? What is it that can give me that stability, that peace, that calmness, that happiness that will not go away with anything material? How do I discover that? So in the case of Bhakta also, yes, everything is gone. Only my Ishta Devata. मैं और मेरा गोपाल, मेरा कन्हैया, मेरा इष्ट है, और कुछ नहीं. So then they become focused in their search. Then slowly the journey will start. Then the follower of the knowledge proceeds with the inquiry of who am I, and he attains slowly nirvikalpa samadhi finally. Of course, these are all again as per the philosophy or understanding of Sri Thakur. The traditional Advaita, they don't talk of samadhi or anything. आप विचार करके समझ लो, बस वही कथम है. And once you get it, it should not leave you. What is the point? Anybody can say, I also understand it is neti neti. No. Does it always stay with you? Even if your hand is cut off, can you still say neti neti? Yes. Ye jaane wale hai, jane do. Even if you are down with cancer, can you say, yes, the body has to go, it will go, I don't care. I only aspire for that Brahman. See, when you say neti neti, according to the traditional Vedantis, once by that constant vichara, that becomes a permanent awareness in them. It doesn't go. It's always there. It's always there. It's always there. So in their own, that kind of meditations, which is Thakur has really specialized, when everything is removed and the mind completely settles in the idea that it's all nothing, then slowly all the vrittis are quietened and the mind becomes absolutely calm. And then it goes slowly sinks into that idea of nirvikalpa samadhi, where there is no vritti in the mind, nothing. The whole mind is like a rippleless lake in the waters of which is reflected the highest truth or Brahman. So that complete awareness, that oneness, that consciousness, it's constantly felt in that state. So, supposing you follow the path of devotion, how do you reach there? If the ultimate truth is one, if it's all same at the end, obviously, there cannot be any difference between following the path of knowledge and following the path of bhakti. The path may be different. Ekam sat vipra bahudha vadanti. They say, if the truth is one, ultimately, all have to reach the same truth only. So, is there any different truth for the followers of devotion? No, it's the same truth. How it can be? Then he says, slowly Maharaj explains, he or she believes in God the Creator, believes that his creation exists and is real. Devotees look upon the world and all beings and objects in it as related to God. So they consider everything to be their own. So they don't start with the premise that everything is unreal. They accept God, their own God, their personal God, their Ishta Devata. And all the creation, the world, etc., they believe they were all created by God Himself. So, just as I am created by God, everything is created by God. So they find a kind of relation. Yes, it's all God only. And so they are very happy that this is God who has created everything. They find some kind of, everything is related to God. So they find everything to be their very own. They shun whatever they believe to be an obstacle on the path leading to the experience of the relationship. The pressing goal of a devotee is to love and be absorbed in meditation on a particular form of God and to perform every action for his delight. So भक्त लोग जैसे क्या करते हैं, they take up one particular aspect of God. Supposing you love Gopala, Gopala is your Ishtadeva. Not even that Vanshidhari Krishna, not that Mathura Krishna, not that Vrindavan Krishna. Gopala is my Ishta. So all thing I do to Gopala only. उनका नाना धोना, ये करना, खिलाना, कपड़ा पहनाना, कि भोग चढ़ाना, day and night only in that, and keeping everything else outside, keeping all other distractions outside. And then if you can forget the whole world itself and completely immersed in the thought of your own Ishta, then slowly you reach a transcendental state. अतीन्द्रिय जगत में धीरे धीरे पहुंच जाएंगे. Why? The mind becomes completely quiet. All other things come to a standstill. And slowly there is an elevation. A devotee accepts a certain form of God as chosen devotee, contemplates and meditates on the deity. In the early stages of meditation, the devotee cannot visualize fully the form of God. कभी तो मुख देख पाते तो पैर नहीं पाते थे, हाथ देखते तो पैर नहीं देखते. It goes on like that. One cannot visualize the full form of the devotee in the initial stage of the Ishta Devata in the initial stage. Slowly, as one begins to keep away more and more the distractions and give more and more time to one's own Ishta Devata, by constantly remembering his or her Ishta Devata at all times, slowly the murti or the image of Ishta Devata becomes more clear, it's able to see the entire form. Then he says, as the mind becomes, completely calm, and then as the meditation still becomes deeper, the devotee sees the divine form move and smile. चलते फिरते देखते हैं. Hears the deity speak and ultimately even feels a touch of the divine form. आपको कई बार ऐसे अनुभव किया ना, जब दक्षिणेश्वर में और देखते हैं माँ श्वास लेती है, उनका अपना, he put his finger near her nostrils and felt that mother is actually breathing. It's possible. So when you become more and more deeply absorbed, then the Ishtadevata becomes kind of living, and one is able to see not only his form, can also hear him speak or talking. How many times we have heard in the lives of devotees, God appearing perfectly in the human form and talking to them. And I've shared this in some other class, some other time. There's a great devotee of Rama in Dakshin Bharat. He was called Tyagaraja. It composed many wonderful songs. He was very, very known, the doyens of Carnatic music. लेकिन वो रामचंद्र की बहुत भक्त थे. उनका बहुत सुंदर जो जिस विग्रह उन्होंने पूछते थे, अभी भी that विग्रह is there in his birthplace called Tiruvayu. हर साल वहाँ बहुत बड़ा Carnatic music musicians from all over India come for that function. Tyagaraja Aradhana कहते हैं. They will all sing beautiful. There, he was so passionate. He was longing with this viraha to get the vision of Ramchandra. लेकिन वो घर से निकाल रहे हैं, just almost at the doorstep, अचानक वो दिख रहा दो बहुत सुंदर बालक उनके सामने से रास्ता पे चल रहे, वो वापस आ गए. फिर बहुत रो रो के प्रार्थना करें, आप कब दर्शन दोगे? आई एम क्राइंग सो मच. देन लॉर्ड रामचंद्र एंड असिरी फॉर्म, अरे मैं तो तुम्हारा सामने ही गया, तुम तो पहचाना नहीं है. राम एंड लक्ष्मण went in front of him, he could not recognize. Of course, finally he got their vision. So, it's as Maharaj says, because, he has seen clearly from close quarters how Thakur could talk to mother, how he could hear her, how he could feel her presence. So, as Samari says, unless we had seen Sri Ramakrishna, we would have never understood how an avatara would behave or what would be his lifestyle and all that. So because he had seen him at close quarters, he says that one can even feel the touch of the divine form. The devotee then perceives that form as alive in all aspects. In all respects, completely, एक जीवंत मूर्ति या देख भाव. And then, whether the devotee meditates with open eyes or closed eyes, he or she can see the deity's graceful movements. हमेशा उसका अनुभव. इसलिए many times when Ramlala came with that Jatadhari sadhu, he was having that murti with him for so many years. He would always worship. The moment it came to Sri Ramakrishna, it became alive. उनके साथ बहुत शरारतें करते थे. He was making all kinds of mischief, running here and there. He would go into the waters. सुनते नहीं हैं. Then Sri Ramakrishna जबरदस्ती used to keep him under the water, and he would gasp for breath. Then he would take him out and he would say, how much wonderful things Kaushalya used to feed, I cannot give you. ऐसा उनके साथ हमेशा चलता फिरता था. Constantly it would go along with him wherever he went. It became totally living. And finally he refused to go with Ramlala, with that Jatadhari. बोला नहीं, इनके पास ही रहूंगा. Then that Jatadhari very happily handed over that Ramlala Murti. Of course, बाद में we had kept, I think somewhere it was stolen from Jairambati or somewhere that was stolen, that Ramlala Murti. It's no longer with us. But that was there for a long time. And then he said, then he also understood, Jatadhari also understood. See, the very purpose of his worshipping that Murti was that it should become real, it should become totally manifest. So his objective was also achieved. He no longer needed any external symbol. वो अपना हृदय में उसकी उपासना करने की क्षमता आ गया. So he also happily gave it to Sri Ramakrishna. But that Ramlala became living. So many experiences. When he went to that Jadumani's place, how Madana and Christ, they came out from that picture literally. Thakur could see them living. So that's what he says. Seeing all that, what he says, they can even feel the touch of the divine form. So, and then the devout aspirant attained the vision of the various divine forms emanating from the form of the chosen deity. इतना तक नहीं है, अब एक बार कोई ऐसे दर्शन आपके हो जाए अच्छी से. Thakur says so many other visions are also possible. Thakur himself had innumerable visions of देव देवता, सबको उनका दर्शन हुआ था. So then an aspirant has been graced with the vision of the living divine forms, feels that those forms seen in the realm of ideas during meditation are as real as objects seen in the waking world. So हमें ठाकुर भी नरेंद्र का एक बार पूछा ना, आप क्या सोच रहे हैं, सिर्फ आंख बंद करके आप भगवान को देखोगे, आंख खोल के नहीं देख पाओगे. For him, after his final experience, everything was a living presence of God only. So here Maharaj writes that the devotee, as he becomes more and more established, will feel that what he is experiencing in the meditation is as real as what he is seeing in the waking world. That's why, when Swamiji asked Ramakrishna, have you seen God? Yes, I see him. I see him more real than I see you. कोई जैसे दिखता है ना, उससे से भी अधिक मैं उसका स्पष्ट देख पाता हूँ. I see him more clearly than I see. And I can also show you, sir. मैं दिखा सकता हूँ. But इसके लिए साधन चाहिए. It's not impossible. So, then he sees, the more deeply he realizes that the external world is a projection of the mind. इससे उनका धीरे धीरे idea हो जाएगा. He will be so established in this idea. He would know that the external world is only a projection of the mind. Advaita, this is a very clear idea that the external world is a projection of the mind. क्योंकि आप बाहर जगत का तो अपना मन की माफिक तो देखेंगे ना. Suddenly, in one mood you'll find this is a good color. In one mood, no, it's not a good color. One day you'll feel, oh, this is deep red. Sometimes it's not so deep red. About men matters everything. Our opinions keep on changing depending upon our state of mind. वो बहुत भला आदमी है, अरे बहुत बुरा है, such a wicked person, such a nice person. Everything, So the whole world is only the ideas of the mind ultimately. Sometimes you feel you are very, this thing fine, healthy, not so healthy, sometimes fat, sometimes lean. All those things, every idea arises only from the mind. As we experience happiness and misery every day when dealing with people and objects in the external world, so the devotee experiences the same emotions when interacting with the chosen deity. अपना इष्ट देवता के साथ भी कभी अच्छा कभी बुरा, कभी झगड़, ऐसा क्यों किया, क्यों नहीं दे रहे हो, क्यों इतना शोर मचा रहे हो. In many ways, so it keeps on. Now it becomes a living relationship, a wonderful relationship with one's own Ishta Devata or chosen deity. And then any thoughts, desires, and doubts that arise in the devotee's mind, all related to the chosen deity only. So मन में ऐसे सोचते सोचते ना, immediately उसकी बारे में ही सोचते हैं. So when one is completely established in this is what is called the state of savikalpa samadhi. इसमें क्या क्यों savikalpa? Along with modifications, क्योंकि बहुत सारे मन में चेंज होता रहता है. इष्ट देवता के बारे में भी, even about the इष्ट देवता also, sometimes this, sometimes that aspect. So constantly there are mental modifications. So it's called savikalpa samadhi. And then, so when the devotee is just absorbed in particular object in the spiritual realm, the gross external world disappears from his or her mind. When one idea becomes predominant, all other ideas cease to exist. जितने वो अपना इष्ट देवता के बारे में सोचते हैं, समझते हैं, ध्यान करते हैं, सोचते रहते हैं, then the world starts slowly disappearing. There are some people, you might have seen, day and night they're only bothered about their own Krishna, their own Radha, their own Ramchandra, their own Hanuman, whatever it is, their own Ishta Devata. Whole world is nothing for them. They don't even think of it. And then For the devout aspirant who has proceeded this far, the attainment of Nirvikalp Samadhi is not too remote. ये सविकल्प से जहाँ विकल्प है, मन में बहुत सारे वृत्तियां उठती रहती है, but all related to one's own Ishta Devata. From these two transcend to the level of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, where there is no vikalpa, there are no mental modifications. It is not difficult at all, he says. What is that? One who has been able to eradicate his or her lifelong belief about the reality of the world has developed an extremely powerful and steadfast mind. ये बचपन से ये जगत इतनी सत्य है, it is so real to us, so tangible. But if someone can develop that attitude and understand fully that his world is not real, then obviously he has a very steady mind. क्योंकि मन की चंचलता कहाँ से उद्भव होती है? Where from it originates? Because of the restlessness of the mind only. Restless the mind, and then because of the attachment to so many things, it keeps on hopping from one thing to another. That's how the restlessness happens. But then, if one has understood all these to be useless, and the mind is concentrating only on the Ishta, then that becomes a very steady mind. A devotee who can make the mind completely free from modifications can more deeply enjoy the relationship with God. पहले बहुत सारी modifications साथ, with all mental modifications, it's also deep thought or love for God. Slowly, when you start removing all the other modifications, more and more the devotee enjoys the relationship with God and starts loving Him more and more. When the devotee realizes this, his or whole mind runs enthusiastically in that direction. उसी तरह दौड़ते रहती है मन. It doesn't want anything else. Only the company of God, only the remembrance, only about Ishta Devata all the time. You know, Thakur Swami saw how that Gopal Erma, morning to night, सुबह उठ के उस समय से रात तक गोपाल की सेवा, और कुछ नहीं है दिन भर. Whole day only that kind of an attitude. The devotee soon ascends the highest plane of consciousness by the grace of Guru and of God, and attains eternal peace by becoming established in non-dual knowledge. उस समय, when the devotee has advanced so far, then by the grace of Guru and God, it comes to the final culmination, namely the non-dual experience. What happens at the time? Alternatively, it can be said that the passionate love for God shows the devotee the highest plane and helps him to experience oneness with God, as did the gopis of Vrindavan. So, in the path of Jnana also, what happens finally? Everything else is erased. See, even if you have a very least attachment to body or mind, the I, Ahankara, remains. But when that also, even the least trace of attachment to body and mind is also removed by the process of neti and neti, nothing is there. No ahankara. Then there's only that oneness, that consciousness. Same, nothing else. So in the same way, the bhakta also, when he eliminates everything, and completely goes to that level, either he also feels that kind of general oneness like the Vedanti, or he feels that oneness is his own Ishta Devata or God or chosen deity. Supposing, if the ego or the duality of the devotee is completely erased and there is only the presence of the Ishta Devata or the God, what happens? It's only that oneness. Only the Ishta Devata remains. Nothing remains of the devotee. Nothing remains of the individual. Only the supreme oneness with the Ishta Devata is what would remain ultimately. So, as an example, Maharaj gives the gopis of Vrindavan. They had nothing. That's why, when he was in Mathura, he sent Vidura to console them once. Bejete, jao, tumke samjha kya ho. Because he heard that they are simply so restless for him. They are weeping and crying and they are not being satisfied by anybody. Then Vidura came, che itna kyun ro rahe hain? Wo kahan gaya? आपका मनी में तो आप मन में सोचो, अरे क्या बात कर रहे हैं, व्हाट आर यू सेइंग। वो कब हम लोग का मन हरण करके चला गया, लॉन्ग वो ही हैज रॉब्ड अस ऑल ऑफ आवर माइंड, इज आवर माइंड विद अस नाउ, हम लोग का मन हमको पास है क्या, वो कब लेके चले गए, इट्स ऑल विथ हिम ओनली। दैट काइंड ऑफ वंडर्स, Vidura was stunned. He himself learned. Vidura was a jnani. He was surprised by the devotion. They were not jnanis. They were not into vichara or anything. But they had become so one with their object of love, that is Sri Krishna. They had no identity of their own. See, अंत में ही है ना हम लोग का अहंकार, शरीर मन और अहंकार का पूरा संपूर्ण रूप से खत्म करना, लेप, how that is erased completely, that is jnana. In the same way, in the bhakti, it becomes completely merged with the Ishta or becomes one with that. That's also a kind of non-dual or transcendental experience. So, these are the ways, the scriptures by which aspirants who follow the path of knowledge and devotion can reach the ultimate goal. जो ज्ञान मार्ग से ऐसे पहुंचना चाहते हैं उनका भी यही है, जो भक्ति मार्ग से करते हैं उनका भी वही है। दोनों महाराज अच्छी तरह से समझाया। But because both divine and human characteristics always coexist in the lives of avatars, even during their sadhana, they sometimes appear to be perfect and powerful. So, the beauty in the case of normal spiritual aspirants, they have to clearly transcend their physical limitations, their human imperfections, and slowly proceed in the direction of becoming divinized themselves. But in the case of avatars, they are coming with a huge divine quality themselves. So, in their life, you always find a mixture of both the divine as well as human qualities. ऐसा नहीं है हमेशा ही उनका जो भगवत सत्ता वही लेके चले, वो भी नहीं. It's not that they always move about with the divine qualities, nor do they become like ordinary human beings. Suddenly you will find in their lives some extraordinary incidents or anything which show that they were very divine and extraordinary. Again, there will be like most ordinary, normal human beings also. Thakur also was like that. Even at a very young age, he had spiritual experiences. But he was also खेल-कूद में बहुत व्यस्त थे. He used to go about, do a lot of mischief, go to the Manik Raja's Bagan and skipping school. They will all go and do yatras, etc. there, various places. And the various ways he would entertain everybody, do mimicry and all that. So, they sometimes appear to be perfect and powerful. This may happen because they have the power to move on both human and divine planes naturally, or perhaps their divine nature is innate and spontaneous. It sometimes pierces the external veil of their human nature and manifests itself. So, क्योंकि उनका जो देवी सत्ता, the divine quality, they are innate, inborn. इसलिए sometimes कभी-कभी ऐसी उनकी मनुष्य की तरह जो ये है उसका तोड़ के बाहर आता है, लग रहा है as if it pierces his humanness and comes out and manifests itself. Sometimes they happen. So it is so spontaneous. When whatever the explanation is, such stories of superhuman perfection have made the lives of avatars difficult to comprehend and mysterious to human intellect. अब कैसे साधारण आदमी तो समझना संभव नहीं. How as some 6-year-old boy or so, he put on the dress of Shiva and become completely immersed in samadhi. How he saw white cranes flying in the background of black clouds. He lost external consciousness and he fell down. While going to the Anur Visalakshi temple, suddenly he was overcome by the feeling about the mother and he lost consciousness. So normally people do not understand. Even a pious lady like Chandra Devi, who herself had spiritual experience before the birth of Sri Ramakrishna, because he saw a white light emanating from the Shivalinga and enter her belly. But even she thought that उनका कुछ fits होगा, ऐसी कोई epileptic fits कुछ होगा, से कुछ दवाई पर देना है, ऐसे सोच रही थी. So nobody could understand. It's difficult to understand. Because suddenly, I'm just talking normally everything to you. And suddenly I say, ye hoga. Suddenly I show some divine qualities. Supposing you see in the place of me, one murti of Ganesha. आप तो सब suddenly all of you will become stunned. अरे क्या हो गया, ये तो बैठे थे बात कर रहे थे. So like that suddenly, it makes, not in the form of exactly a murti or anything. Some may be very clear that these are not human qualities. For a 6-year-old child to get into samadhi while putting on the dress of Shiva, that's not possible normally. So ordinary people cannot comprehend. It's a big mystery to them. कैसे हो रहा है, क्या समझ नहीं पाते. So it seems that this intricate mystery will never be solved completely. इसका क्या है, पूरा पता करना बिल्कुल संभव ही नहीं है. It is a gospel truth that people will benefit immensely if they study the lives of avatars with reverence. इसलिए आप ऐसे कोई महापुरुष की जीवनी आप जब पढ़ेंगे, when you read, you must read with श्रद्धा. पहले ऐसे कुछ नहीं है, ऐसे बकवास है. If you start like that, nothing will strike you. But if you read with that kind of a devotion or reverence doesn't mean that सब कुछ में विश्वास करना. No. See, what we don't understand, we can say, yes, this we have to find out. सोचना है, समझना है. But you cannot straight away say it's wrong because I don't understand. See, Thakur had Evikalpa Samadhi. He had Samadhi when he put on the dress of Shiva. How can I deny it or accept it? मैं तो कुछ नहीं जानता हूँ. When I don't know, I can say, no, I don't know. मैं बाद में समझ लूँगा. But you cannot say, it's all useless, it's all fraud, it's all trick. हो नहीं सकता है. Can you say like that? How do you know? We don't know at all. So when you do with that kind of shraddha, then it is possible to comprehend what it is, how it can happen. It's a however, during the ancient Puranic, the avatars, human characters were kept hidden. The divine aspects were. अरे कोई किसी को माइक ऑन है, बंद कीजिए.
भैया तो कैश दूंगा तो फिर कल दूंगा, कब बाद में दूंगा.
ओ माले बाबू আপনার মাইকটা বন্ধ করুন. See, in the case of the Puranic age, more and more the divine aspects of God were discussed and the human aspect less and less. Not only that, if not at that time, see, slowly as we descend more and more and more and more as we go forward in time, after 500 years, 1,000 years, Thakur's life also will become another Purana. It will become completely full of mysteries, full of miracles, full of things like that. But in the when you live very close to them historically, जब उनका नजदीक जब रहते हैं, obviously you will look at more and more their human lives. Otherwise, how can we relate to them? पहले आप समझ लें वो भगवान है, वो तो भगवान है, ऊपर रख दो, उठा के रख दो, पूजा करो, फूल चंदन चढ़ाओ, भोग चढ़ाओ, बस खत्म. But only when you understand that Thakur is also a human being, when you concentrate more and more on his human personality, then you will understand more and more about life, about sadhana, what to do, where to go, how to proceed. Everything you'll get some idea when you look at an avatara from the human point of view. But you must do with shraddha, you must do with reverence, because it's very clear if you lead the life, they were extraordinary. They were not ordinary people. Very, very clear. But if you only remember their extraordinariness, the divine qualities, you will never be able to relate to them. उन्होंने किया मेरा तो संभव नहीं है. But if you remember their human qualities, then you will concentrate on that and try to derive a benefit, trying to find a way out. मार्गदर्शन कैसे उन्होंने किया, आपका भी फायदा हो. So it's very important. So we have to look at their human nature. And the divine natures have been completely, we do not much look at them now. In the present context, while discussing the avatars' lives, we shall try to explain to the reader how both aspects exist simultaneously in them. So उन्होंने यही कोशिश करेंगे. एक अवतार के जीवन में Devi Sampat, Devi, the divine qualities as well as human qualities. मनुष्य की तरह जो करते थे वो भी है, उनका जो दिव्यता, divine quality, both he will try to combine because he had seen someone so close. किसी के इतना नजदीक से देखा, so he has no doubt about the divine nature of that personality. It is no exaggeration to say that you would never be able to understand the life of an avatara in that way. You had not seen the God man, Sri Ramakrishna. If you had not seen Thakur, you would never have understood how to combine this divine idea as well as this human side of the same personality. So then we come to the next chapter, the avatara as a spiritual aspirant. So here only all through the discussion, Sarat Maharaj will place before us both slowly some of the human aspects of Sri Ramakrishna's life as well as the divine qualities of Sri Ramakrishna. Probably to make it very clear, maybe he would bring references from other avatars also. Blessed by the gracious company of the Holy Mother, we contemplate his life and character. माँ की शरण लेके ठाकुर का जीवन के बारे में वो सोचना चाहते हैं. Contemplate his life and character. The more we do so, the more we are overwhelmed by the wonderful existence of divine and human characteristics. So यही उनका बहुत ही चिकना आश्चर्यान्वित हो जाती है. He becomes completely overwhelmed because the coexistence of both the divine and the human qualities. That gives an extra aura or extra beauty or grandeur to Sri Ramakrishna's life. So only divine qualities like Sri Krishna, ये बचपन से 1 साल की है, 3 महीने की बच्चा किसी को मार डाला, ये किया, so many things are there. But then an intensely human and intensely this. He had so much love for his mother. It's a human aspect, like everybody will love, because when Avatara, he did not neglect her. He had gone to Vrindavan. He met Ganga Mai. Ganga Mai said, you stay. So he says, Thakur says, everything was arranged. 2 cots in a room, one in one corner for me, another in another corner. She said, she knew he had a stomach problem. I will arrange for diet. I will arrange for everything. So, we man sir kar liya, main wahan rahunga. Then Hriday became afraid. Hriday ki to jaga nahi hai. वो उनका हाथ पकड़ के किसने लगा. He says, one hand Hriday is pulling, another hand Ganga Mai is pulling. You stay here. Then he said, I suddenly remembered my mother living at Nahabal. And he said, no, I have to go back. What is it? Was he attached to mother like you, me, and anybody? No. A small touch of that humanness, human character. How important it is. You may be immersed in God, but you can't just forget your mother also. How to combine these two? So that is the beauty of Sri Ramakrishna's life. So, for that reason he came back. He did not stay at all in Vrindavan. He said, no, I can't be here. I have to go back. So, again, Maharaj will discuss in great detail the combination of his humanness as well as his divineness. It's very interesting. We'll again take it up next week. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tatsat Sri Ram Vishnu Arpanamastu.
Yes.